Hello, and welcome to session 33 of Talking Asperger's with Andrew. Hello, good afternoon. I'm going to talk to you today about a particular aspect of managing someone and someone's expectations who has Asperger's syndrome, and that is the recruitment process. You might be thinking, what do we do about that? Well, it's quite interesting because you need to start off knowing what you're going to achieve and what it is you want and who it is you want to attract as your candidates for your vacancy that you have. So that start point needs to be very clear, very precise, very specific. Those are three words that keep coming up with I do my talks and my webinars. Be very clear, be very precise and very specific about what you want, who you want, what skills they have, what qualifications they have, what length of experience they have, seniority. Are there any IT skills that they would need, any software programs that they would need to be fluent with and be able to work with comfortably? So set out in your advert what it is that you're looking for. But here's a tip. Don't write great screech. People who have Asperger's and autism get lost in the myriad of information that is presented by just a large amount of text. Use small amounts of text, use bullet points. So if you want someone 5 years experience, degree qualified, fluent in Excel and Word, just do that as 3 bullet points. Boom, boom, boom. Just as simple as that. So that you're being very clear as to who you want to attract and make it easy. It's your job to make it as easy as possible for a potential candidate, for someone who wants to come and work for you, to find out what you're looking for and how to contact you. Now, we all have the internet these days. I'm speaking to you over the internet. There is a tendency with recruiters to have their own online portal or use a recruitment agency who has their own online portal that will ask a myriad of questions. And quite honestly, I'm being brutally honest with you, over half of it is irrelevant. It really is. Because you have the ability to have an online portal to ask 40 questions of a candidate, you think you should. Well, actually, you don't need to do that. What you need, as I've just said, be clear, specific, and precise about who you want to attract. Be upfront. Don't hide anything. Don't say, oh, we'll let them know about that at the interview because we're not quite sure that we want to tell them that. No, be upfront. Find out from them whether they've got the experience, the qualifications, and they have the aptitude for what you want them to do, and write that down in the advert that you've got. Short, punchy, make it easy to contact you, either whether it's yourself or through a recruitment agency. That's the first step. And that's a really important step because you don't want to put people off who could be a good fit for you by having great lengthy portal questions. And I'm going to say this because as someone who has Asperger's, although I only found out 7 years ago, I hate portal questions that think like, describe what it would be like to be a tree, or questions that have no relevance to the candidate. You want to know whether the candidate is qualified. You want to know whether the candidate has the right level of experience, and you want to know, yes, you want to know how they think and how they can operate in teams and how they can manage their own time and do all of those things. You don't need to ask them, think what it's like to be a tree. What you should be asking them is demonstrate your skill and ability in this area with that piece of software, and demonstrate with examples how you have managed and overcome a problem that you've had in your work. That's what you want to know. You want to have problem solvers, managers, and people who manage teams, depending on what type of position you're going for, or whether there is a junior position and you want someone who's enthusiastic, skilled, that you can train. You want to have someone who is trainable. You want to have someone that is a good fit for your business. And that person who is a good fit for your business might not be the most qualified person, might not be the person who has the most experience, but they will be the person that shines out for you as someone who is trainable, who is a fit for your team. So don't always just be looking at the tick boxes. Yes, yes, yes. Find out what it is that makes that person tick. the way to do that is to make your advert attractive so that you entice the right sort of person to your business for that vacancy. When you've got to your shortlist, let people know you're on a short list. We'd like you in for interview. This is where it's really important to think about how you're going to then communicate with that person to say, we would like you to come to interview. You would need to have read their CV, their resume, or the questions they put on your portal, because you will want to understand who it is and what it is and who they are and what makes them tick. And you would want to ask them for interview. And in asking them for interview, you need to say where they're coming. I know this sounds daft, and some of these questions might seem a bit ridiculous. Be very clear about what time, where, who you're meeting. Is there a car park? Do they need a permit? Do they need to speak to a security guard to park their car? Has that been cleared? Or is there a train station nearby and a bus route nearby? Make this information available to your candidates, because someone with Asperger's or autism might be thinking, that's a good fit for me. I like that advert. So you want to make your company, your business premises, as accessible as possible. It might be that someone who is in a wheelchair thinks that they're a good fit for you, and it's no good if they've got to get up a flight of 6 stairs to get from the car park to the front room of your building, and there's no wheelchair ramp. You've immediately ruled out people or made it difficult for people in a wheelchair. So it's not just thinking about someone who is neurodivergent, but think about all of the people who could be attracted to that vacancy. How can you make your interview process accessible? If you're going to want to have questions for them, having seen their resume, having seen what they put on your portal. For someone with Asperger's syndrome, it's really important that you put those questions in writing to them before the interview. You might be thinking, no, but we want to see how they think on their feet. Well, people with Asperger's can be great thinkers, can be great forward thinkers, can be great innovators. But to put someone on the spot, you're going to make them nervous. You're going to make them agitated, and they're not going to come across in the best way that displays their skills and experience and their abilities to you. So if you've seen from their resume that they've got certain levels of experience and skills, ask them about those things and ask those questions. Say, when we're going to like you in for an interview, and we would like to cover these 4 or 5 or 6 questions. I wouldn't have any more than that. In fact, I would try and stick to 3, because you'll know fairly soon whether someone is a fit for you, whether it's going to be right for you. And so keep the number of questions, make them very precise. Have the person who is going to be their supervisor, their manager, have that person involved in that process, so that they can think, this person's come across okay, I'd like to ask them this and this. Let them have those questions beforehand, so that they can, for someone with Asperger's syndrome or autism, they can think about how they're going to answer those questions. They can be prepared, which means they will come across confidently, and that will be able to have a good interactive dialogue with you at the interview process. The setting. I've said this before on one of my previous webinars. The setting that you have when you're briefing someone is part of my 7 steps program. When you brief someone on a new aspect of work, you would want to sit them in a quiet space, away from the noise and hullabaloo of what's going on around the office or the workplace. It's no different for an interview. Find a conference room that's not being used. Make sure that there's not too much light coming in, or the overhead lights are too bright. Get the light balance right. Make sure it's not noisy and there's lots of noise and activity going on outside. Try and have the room away from the canteen at lunchtime. That might sound ridiculous, but some people on the spectrum are very sensitive to smells. So strong perfume, strong aftershave, or canteen smells wafting down the corridor can be triggers for them to be uncomfortable and agitated and nervous, and might get them very tense and very uncomfortable. So try and think about all these accessibility issues, how you can make someone comfortable in the interview, because that's what you want. You want someone who's going to be comfortable in the interview, to come across well, to be confident, and portray their skills to you in the best way that you can. So give them the questions beforehand. let them know how to get to the building and all of those things. Tell them who you're being interviewed with. So you're going to be interviewed by this person who is, and that state what their role is, and this person who's going to be your line manager, and state what their role is, so that they know who they're coming to meet. The last thing you want is is for someone with Asperger's to walk up to your building, go to reception and say, I've come for an interview, and they don't know who you're being interviewed by. It's not a good front door that you're putting on for your business. Say, yep, hi, my name's Andrew Marsh. I have an interview at 3 o'clock with Mr. Wilson. The receptionist should know that they're expecting someone at 3 o'clock to have an interview with Mr. Wilson. Ah, yes, certainly, no problem at all. Would you like to sit over there? And I'll let them know that you're here. Can I get you a cup of tea or a cup of coffee? Make them feel welcome in your business. Don't try and trick them. Don't try and trap them up. Don't make it difficult for them. You want this person that you are interviewing, who's taking up your time, and your time is valuable, but so is their time. Their time is valuable. So don't waste their time. Don't waste your time, and make sure that they can be comfortably in your business, sat at reception. Have, if you've got trade magazines, have those on the coffee table. This might seem an obvious thing, but make your reception area welcoming, so that when you actually get to the nitty gritty of, you've met the person, you're in the interview room with them, keep it very simple. Say, thank you very much for coming in. I am Mr. Wilson. This is my colleague. And then say, thanks for coming in. We've seen from your resume, you've got a lot of experience in certain areas. Can you make a nice opening question being a nice open question, so that they can say, don't ask them closed questions that are just yeses and nos. Ask them an open question. Say, I noticed from your previous employer, you worked in this field. Could you describe a little bit more about that for us? Because that will then, they're comfortable. They will know what they're doing. They will have been told the question beforehand, of course, so that they can then answer with a pre-prepared answer, but which will make them relax into the situation of being in an interview. And they will then be presenting themselves at their best, which is what you want. You want someone who comes across well. You don't want someone who's nervous and agitated because it hasn't worked out for them, and you want to help the candidate be as good as they can be. So ask open questions, and let them go on a little bit. Let them get comfortable in the setting that they're in, because whether you appreciate it at the time or not, they are interviewing you just as much as you are interviewing them. They have to feel right and comfortable with the two people that they have in the room, Mr. Wilson and the colleague, whoever that is. They have to feel that they can get on with these people. So be welcoming, be friendly. If you've got a more tricky question, something that's challenging them technically, have that towards the bottom of the list of questions that you've got, so that they've had the time to relax into the interview situation and they can be comfortable. So it's really important that you make the whole process, from advert, application, interview questions, interview process, as comfortable and as welcoming as you can. So ask them about themselves. You might want to ask them what they do towards the end of the interview. You might want to ask them about some hobbies they have, what they like doing. That'll give them the opportunity to say what they do, so they can speak freely about their likes, their desires, and things like that, because that's an important part of knowing who it is that you've got on board. But it's also important that you tell them what kind of environment they're going to be working in. Is it a team of 2? Is it a team of 5? Is it a team of 40 people and there's 3 or 4 team leaders? They need to know all these information, because that might affect their judgment on how they might want to work with you. Some people with Asperger's syndrome might be not particularly comfortable being in a big open plan office of 40 people. That can be very daunting for someone, because there's lots of noise, there'll be lots of chatter, there'll be lots of phone calls, there'll be people having conversations around about them, and that can be distracting to them when they're working. So let them know what kind of environment that workspace is going to be and how they're going to be managed and how that all fits in. Give them the opportunity to have a look around the department at the end of the interview. Say, let's have a look. We'd like to take you around so that you can meet some of the people and meet the environment. That will be very welcomed to someone on the spectrum, someone with Asperger syndrome or autism, because they are very sensual. They like to say, see, hear, feel about the environment in which they're going to work. And they can see who the other people are they're going to be. They can see whether there's screens, whether there's not screens. Is it completely open plan? And they can see how that's going to work for them. So those are really important aspects of the interview process, is making them feel comfortable, making them feel welcome. Just going to have a quick look down here. Yes, yeah, really important is to, having seen their resume, is to focus in the interview, have some of your questions on their skills. They would have said from their CV what their educational background is and what skills they have. Ask them about those things that they are good at, because that way you can get a feel for how much depth they have and how much knowledge they have about those particular things, and see whether those skills are exactly what you want or whether they're transferable skills. Clearly, if someone's used Excel for 3 or 4 years and you're using Excel, that's ideal. That's what you want to have. But they may not have used Excel in the way that you do it, but that's trainable, because that's something that they will learn on the job. But they will have the fundamentals of how to use Excel, how to use Word, how to write reports, and how to do communication. And so these things are important so that you can understand that their level of competence in the skills that they have and the things that they've said on their resume. It's okay to ask them about that. One really important thing, having gone through your list of questions, allow them to ask their questions. Because as I said earlier, they are interviewing you. They've got to feel that there's a fit for them. They've got to feel that the package that you're offering, salary, holiday, sick pay, bonuses, shares, company shares, profit sharing scheme, flexi time, all of these things they need to know, they need to understand, they need to know how it works for them. Is your if you have flexi time, is it a full flexi time, or is it just flexible within, you can start within this 2 hour window in the morning and you can finish within this 2 hour window in the afternoon? Or is it more flexible in that, providing you do your 38 hours or 37.5 hours, if you've done most of that Monday to Thursday, you might only need to work until lunchtime on Friday. Is that okay that they leave to go home on the Friday afternoon and not work Friday afternoon? Or do you need them to be in? So is it full flexibility or is it partial flexibility? That can be something that the candidate would need to know. I would love to have been in the situation where I could put the hours in Monday to Thursday and have a shorter day on Friday, because I was an early bird. So I would tend to be in 7:30, 7:45, so I could get on, because that first hour before most other people get in, I was incredibly productive, because there wasn't the chitter chatter, there wasn't the noise of other people being around, and I just had me and my work to focus on. So they might be early bird people who would like to come in and get cracking, get on with their work, not be distracted. And they've accrued their 40, their 35 or their 38 hours by 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock on a Friday. What's stopping them going home? How flexible is the flexi time that you offer? And that's important. Can they accrue time so that, if they've done 40 hours and their contracted hours are 38, they might, after 4 or 5 weeks, they might have accrued enough time to have a day off on flexi. That's something that they would need to know. That would be an attractive opportunity proposition for the candidate to know that they can accrue time and have a day off, have a half a day off. These things are important. So your flexibility as to how your working environment is situated, how it works, those are important things that they need to know. So if you haven't told them that in the advert and in the interview process, be prepared for questions like that, because these are important things. As I have said in some of my previous webinars, we are in the third decade of the 21st century. I'm just going to repeat that. We are in the third decade of the 21st century. We're not in the 1960s, 70s, or even the 1980s. The 1980s started 42 years ago. Come on, we need to do better, and we need to get away from old 20th century thinking. Let's, third decade of the 21st century, let's be proactive. Let's be innovative. Let's be forward thinking. Attract the right people, retain the right people, train them up so that they can be fantastic at what they do, and give them the opportunities to progress. The last thing someone wants is to be sat at doing the same job 5 years down the line. They want to have the opportunity to progress, to advance, get the training that they need to do that, whether that's on the job or they go into external courses or internal courses. All of these things are important. All of these things form part of the assessment process that the candidate will have to see whether they're a good fit for you. If you're still, you know, you start work at 8:45 and you finish work at 5:15, and you have an hour's for lunch, and it's dictatorial and you have to do that, you can't start early and you can't work late, that's not going to be as attractive to someone who might have a flexi hours system where they can accrue time and take a day off after 5 or 6 weeks of accrued hours. That's attractive. Having such a rigid structure that you can't do that is less attractive. You want to attract good people. Do it. Attract them. Give them the opportunities to vary how they work. Lunch breaks and break times. I've just said there about having an hour for lunch. Well, some people don't like an hour for lunch. They might want, well, I'm hungry about 10:30. I want to have something at 10:30 for half an hour. And then I'll have something else at 2:30, 3 o'clock for half an hour. They're still having an hour of their lunch break, but they might be grazers and they might want to do that in two increments. You should be able to allow that to happen. Your working practices should be sufficiently flexible to allow that. Those are the sorts of things that are going to attract people to you, because some people on the spectrum and some other people, other people with other needs and desires and wants and wishes might be grazers. They might want to take four quarter of an hour meal breaks, little snack breaks throughout the course of the day. What's wrong with that? Make it an option. Make these things available to people. If they're doing their work and they're getting their work done by the end of the day, how should it matter whether they have 1 hour lunch break, 2 half-hour, 4 15 minutes? It shouldn't matter. And you want to attract people that are flexible as well. So think about how you do those sorts of things and make your business attractive to the right candidates. How much holiday did they get? After 5 years service, do they get an extra day? Do they get an extra 2 days holiday? These things are important, because you might be employing someone at a relatively junior level, but they're going to go on. Their life may change. They may find their partner. They may get married. They may have children, whether they're men or women. Do you have flexibility in leave for having children, for the men as well as the women that you have? All of these things form part of what we should be looking at, what we should be doing in the third decade of the 21st century. And if you think I'm laboring that, I am doing that deliberately, because we have to get out of the old way of thinking of when I was a geologist up until the early 2000s. That's what we had. We didn't have as much flexibility. We had very little flexibility in working practices. We can do better now. Do they need to be full-time in the office? We've just had 2.5 years of people working from home. Does that person need to be in the office 5 days a week? Can they do their work from home 3 days a week, 4 days a week? Just come in on a Monday morning, come in on a Friday afternoon to catch up on what they need so that they've got the work for the week. And Friday afternoon, they come back, they brief their boss, they brief their supervisor. Do they need to be in the office all the time? Because that is a factor now that people will be considering. If they live an hour's drive away or an hour's commute away, not having to come in to the office 3 days a week is financially far more attractive than having to come in 5 days a week. They're saving 3 days of train fares or 3 days of fuel for their car and car parking. That adds up over the course of a week, over the course of a month, over the course of a year. That's more attractive to someone than being someone who has to be 5 days in the office all the time, every day. So think about how you can make it attractive for the right candidate. The more senior position you're looking for, the more flexibility you're going to have in that. You may need to have more holiday for them. There may be profit sharing schemes and other incentives that you can that will be available to them. Just have a quick drink. So think about the packages that can be attractive, and think about the working practices that will make someone think, yeah, they're more flexible, they're more suitable to how I want to work. I don't need to be in the office 5 days a week. I can do it 2 or 3 days a week. I can, the rest of the time I can work from home. We can do that. We have just shown with COVID, 2.5 years, 2 to 2.5 years of most people working from home. Why not continue that? Why not have hybrid working? People, you're going to attract the better people by having hybrid working, where they don't need to be in the office 5 days a week. It's an element of trust. What's wrong with that? You can do that. You know, you will soon find out whether you've got a good one or not after the first week, the first month. If you've got someone who is able to work from home 2 or 3 days a week, and they're doing good work and they're doing great work, encourage that, allow them to do that. You've got mobile phones, you've got emails, you can contact with them, you can connect with them, you can have a Zoom call, maybe have a Zoom call on a Wednesday afternoon with them. How are you getting on with that project you're working on? Doing really good, thanks. I'm making good progress. I'll get a progress report to you by the end of the day or by tomorrow. You don't need to see them in the office. You can Zoom call them. You can do it. We've been doing it for 2 years. So as much flexibility as you have to attract the right candidate and retain the right candidate, that's what you want to do. Let's have a look what we've got down here. Questions in advance. Yep. Skills testing, tour of the workplace. Keep things simple. Keep things as simple as you can. So don't have a overly long, overly complicated advert. Make it enticing. Make the advert enticing to get the right people to apply. Have your shortlist process. Have a good interview. Make your place of work accessible to as many people as you can, so that you can entice the right people in for that job. That's what you need to do. That's what we should be doing in the third decade of the 21st century. And allow that person to ask you questions, because if you haven't covered it, give them the opportunity to ask questions. And it's really important that you pay attention to the questions that they ask, because if you're interviewing, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 people, and they're all asking similar questions, maybe that's something you should think about clarifying in your advert for the next time you put a position out. Maybe they're all asking about the flexibility of working, of the office environment or the work environment. So if you have flexibility about the working hours, say so in your advert. You're going to attract better people. So pay attention to the questions that you get asked, because there'll be a theme there. There may be theme and common questions that come up that you should be clarifying in your advert for your next time you're putting out an advert for an opportunity in your business. So those are some of the things I wanted to cover about the recruitment process. Keep it as simple as you can. Be as clear, specific and precise as you can. Be very accurate with the wording and what you want from your candidates and who you want to attract. You know, put the salary or the hourly rate in the advert. Put that in the advert, so that there's no point someone, let's suppose you're looking for an intermediate position, £28,000 a year. You need to say intermediate position, £28,000 a year, because that means that the person who's on £35,000 a year in their current job but is looking to leave, they're probably not going to apply to you, because they're going to take a £7,000 hit. You want to be very clear about what you want your advert to be, and if it is, you are looking for a £28,000 a year position, say salary in the region of. I think that's perfectly okay to say salary in the region of, depending on experience, and have some flexibility, 10% either way. But be honest about it. Don't try and trick people into coming into an interview, and then when they get to the interview, they find at the end of the interview that the job's £5,000 less than they're currently on. You've wasted their time. You've wasted your time. It doesn't help anyone. So be clear about what the package is, about holiday, about sick leave, all of the things that you need to cover. Be very open with them about that, so that you set out what it is you're willing to offer as a new remuneration package, and as an office workspace environment, and the flexibilities that you can offer them. Because if you put all that down, you're likely to get the better candidates coming in. And if you find that you're not, then maybe your 28 grand a year isn't the right salary. Maybe it's a 33 grand a year salary that you should be offering. If you're not getting good quality candidates coming through, maybe your package isn't right. You need to think about that. And that can be a tough one to face. But if you're not getting the right candidates, quality candidates who've got good experience from well-known, reputable companies, maybe your package isn't right. Give serious thought to that. Serious thought to what you're offering. Because if you offer the right package, you're going to get the right sort of candidate. If you're offering the wrong package, you might get the wrong kind of candidate as well. So it's a double-edged sword. You need to be market value or slightly above, because hopefully you're going to be looking to employ someone that you're going to retain for 5 years, 10 years, to work their way up through the ladder, to be supervisor level, do manager level, to go on to bigger and greater things. You want to invest in that person. So you want to have the right person, good candidate, well skilled, good abilities, comes across well, so that you can train them in how your business works, but they have the fundamental basics there to start with. If you're interviewing for an entry level candidate, you're going to need to know what they've done academically, and what skills they have, and they will have they should have skills. They should be able to use Word and Excel, probably possibly PowerPoint. How conversant are they with Zoom? How conversant are they at report writing? They've been to college, they would have written reports and essays and dissertations. Ask them questions about those things, because you're trying to find the right person. Even a junior level person, they will have skills, they will have abilities, they will have things that are enticing to you. So get them talking about those things. What can they do? How can they use those basic skills they have? Because we all started somewhere. I started off as a graduate geologist. After 2 years, I moved on. I got some experience, I moved on. That's part and parcel of business. So you gain experience, you move on. You either, you see what's out there. And sometimes you need to move on to get better experience in bigger teams or different teams to progress your career. So you want to try and get the right people. So make the advert enticing, make the package enticing, and make your workplace enticing. And then you should get the right candidates for your business. So that's all I wanted to cover today on recruiting people with Asperger syndrome and autism. Let's remember, as I said earlier, and I've said it 3 times at least, we are in the 3rd decade of the 21st century. Let's step up. Let's step up and really make the interview process, the selection process, as open, as friendly, and as enticing to the right candidates. And you will then get the right candidates coming through interview. If you're not, there's something wrong with your advert or the package that you're offering. You'll soon find out. So that's what I wanted to cover on recruiting people with Asperger's, because they have a number of great skills and abilities that can help you move your business forward. They're great innovative problem solvers and very skilled in a number of areas of business, and they should be the sorts of people you're looking for. If you want to know more about how to manage people with Asperger's syndrome in the workplace, I'd be delighted to hear from you. You can get in touch with me through my website, because I offer packages and training and coaching that can help your business develop your people who have Asperger's syndrome in your workplace, so that they can help you drive your business forward for the next 5 years, next 10 years. So if you think I can help you out with how to better manage people with Asperger's, then I'd be delighted to hear from you. So please get in touch. If you're watching this on YouTube, if you'd like to subscribe and like the YouTube videos, I would appreciate that as well. But until the next week, where we will have another Talking Asperger's with Andrew webinar on Wednesday at 3 o'clock, it's goodbye, take care, and thank you very much.